G'day, Steve Morgan here. Australian Bass Tournaments. We have concluded the Boondooma round of the 13Fishing Bass Pro Series. It was sponsored by Nomad Designs. I've got the winner here. Matt Johnson, you put in the homework on this joint and it paid off for you this weekend. A great 5.8 kilo bag of fish yesterday, anchored by a really nice Boondooma bass. And you got the job done today, ended up winning by a fair margin.
Yeah, a bit of a trip and stumble at the end, but yeah, still got my bag today, and it was much tougher today, so yeah.
The tournament itself, pretty tough. It was sort of a tournament of the haves and have-nots, and we had guys catching limits one day and donuts the next, and the other way around. You know, guys like Mitch Petty caught a donut yesterday and then got them today. What's the secret of finding fish in this impoundment at this time of year, like the transition between the summer and winter?
Yeah, this time of year when I've been fishing here for fishing comps.
Forever?
Yeah, forever, yeah. I think 2008 was the first ABT that I fished here, and this time of year, from sort of now through to August, they seem to get in the backs of the bays, gullies, or on the little rocky points and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of that, especially at the full water level it is at now, especially once you get up into the arms before the timber. There's lots of little nooks, gullies and those sorts of things that the fish sit in between that 15 and 20 feet, and when they get in there they school up and they just seem to eat whatever you throw at them so long as you hop it.
Yep.
But then come comp time, you want those bigger fish, or you want something that's a little bit different to what other people throw, and that's when I go to the Mask 5, and it seems to always work.
Well, take us through the Mask 5. It's a lure we've seen in ABT for 15 years or 20 years. Back in the old AFC days, guy was hopping the TN60s and the Mask 5s.
Yep.
What's your rig for it, and how do you fish it?
Yeah, so this rig, I only got this rig earlier this year. This is a NRX Plus SJR 842 with a 2500 sustain and 10 pound Kairiki braid, and that is just, I've been fishing masks a long time and won a lot of money on masks. I've won 2 ABTs now on masks, 3, and that's like the dream mask rod for me. That's just so sensitive, so light, chucks them a mile, and the trick with it is having a rod that's responsive enough so that you can punch out long, accurate casts and get a really sharp hop, and then still have the sensitivity in it, so that because they hit it on the at the top of the hop usually, so you can go hop, and you just feel this tiniest little tick, and you can wind set or set the hook. And if you're not using the right rod and reel, you're not getting that really crisp little hops, and you're not feeling that bite. And this thing is just a dream to use. So yeah.
What do you use to connect the rod and reel to the lure? Braid and leader combo. What breaking strengths?
Yeah, so that's 10 pound on this one here. I went to 10 pound only because where I was fishing there was no structure at all for them to brick us on, so I went to 10 pound. Normally I'd use 12. That's 10 pound Kairiki braid, yep, and 12 pound Shimano Oshia leader.
Yep. Pretty popular and good abrasion resistance, and I must admit that is a light rod in the hand, and if you pop vibes all day, you could probably give you a bit of RSI on the wrist if you haven't got the light gear.
Yeah, exactly. If you're doing this for, in comps, we're doing it for hours on end, and that just doesn't fatigue you all day. And when you hook the fish, it's surprisingly powerful as well. So yeah.
Let's talk about the difference between day 1 and day 2. You dumped 5.8 kilos on the scales on day 1,
yep,
and we were expecting another big bag for you today, but the weight's lightened up a lot. Does that reflect the number of fish you caught?
Yeah, so on day 1, caught a lot of fish. It was I got my bag pretty well on Mars each day, got a couple other smaller upgrades on that, and then the last few years I've been going to deep cranks here in Kenya. Seems to really, again through winter, if you can get them to eat a deep crank, they'll smoke it, and you always seem to get better than average fish doing that. So I went to yesterday morning where it was at a flat that was about 15-16 feet, heaps of fish schooled up in there, got them on the mast. So I got a fish, probably my third biggest fish, second cast, and got them pretty good on mast. Then more boats started coming in, got my lineups for casting the deep cranks, and in that 15-16 foot I went to a HU 400 hide up and got punching out long casts with a Shimano DC reel and working those back, upgraded everything I caught on the mask, and then as the sun got higher they moved out into that sort of 22 to 24 feet range, and that's when I got them with the IK 800.
There you go. So mowed them all on the first day. Day 2, did it change at all?
Yeah, it did. So the fish weren't there as much as what they were. They weren't as keen to eat. That southwesterly change this time of year, that's a big problem with fishing the dams up here, is if you get a southwesterly change, they do not like it. So you could tell the difference this morning when we woke up. It was much cooler. There was already a breeze blowing yesterday. No fog. Yep. And just that southwesterly change here, Somerset, Mulgrave Maroon, any places like that, southwesterlies this time of year is just, it's going to be tough. So it definitely was a lot tougher. It took me longer to get my bag. Dropped a couple of good fish on IKs. They were just sort of nipping at them. They weren't eating them yesterday. You almost had to operate on them to get the lures back out of them. But today, and then I had to jump around in spots, and I got a couple of upgrades that I was throwing back yesterday. I would have really liked today.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it happens, mate. You are $3,300 richer, and you got the $250 Mercury bonus as well for running a Mercury. Interesting to note, the top 11 boaters had Mercuries this weekend, so they're a reasonably new sponsor to the Bass. They've always been a sponsor of the Brim, but the big black donk gets you there and back.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had that boat now for 10 years and had that Merc on there. It's done me... any issues I've had with it, I've always been able to finish a comp, get it fixed quickly and easily, and get back on the water, and it goes hard. I love that boat motor. Yep.
Awesome. Well, it's been great to you. You've won plenty of comps in it. Congratulations again to our champion for Boondooma for the Nomad Designs round, Matty Johnson. Well done.
Thanks, Steve.